Greetings to all my 10th grade children. I am a history teacher. I am going to deal with a history lesson. So let's start our first class today. The first lesson is Outbreak of World War and its Aftermath. This is the first lesson in the history. So let's go through what are the causes and the reasons how the World War I and what are the countries included in the World War I and its aftermath. Now let's see what are the topics that are going to be dealt in this lesson. The first thing is we are going to see all the political and the social issues in the lesson, how that leads to the World War I and how that what are the causes for the breakout of the World War. The first thing is 1914 is a very important year in the world history, and here there are so many political and social issues were found, and that lead into the World War, which causes a great devastation in the whole era. This World War was started in the 19th century and here, but it was called and ended up in the 20th century, but it was termed by the historians as the long 19th century. And here, there were many issues related to the industrial, political and many various social causes were happening due to imperialism, colonialism, capitalism, all through the world. There were clashes between each other countries, and that resulted into a bigger war called the World War I. So after this World War, the political maps of the world were redrawn, so it was restructured and every changes were brought in the whole political system. Then three major empires were shattered. They were Germany, Austria-Hungary and Ottomans. The biggest outcome of the war was Russian Revolution. After the Russian Revolution, it changed the face of the world and the countries. Then for the first time, the countries tried to bring world peace through the League of Nations. So we are going to deal all these topics, important topics in this lesson. Before that, there were few seeds that led to the World War. Let's see what are they. Before knowing that about the World War, we have to know the definition, that terms clearly. Unless and until you know the terms clearly, you cannot understand, you will not be able to understand the lesson. So just we'll go through the terms. According to the lesson, when we see, there are three main factors that led to laid the foundation for the World War. So let's see what are the foundation. You have already learned in your lower classes about the terms, but still once we brush up through quickly. Capitalism. Capitalism is a kind of a trade. It's not a free trade, but it's a trade made on agreement between countries. So a richer country or a stronger country lay an agreement with another country, and that agreement will be either in the political or industrial basis. So when they do that, it will be not completely under the control of government sector. It will be a private sector. So everything they will be in their motive way, they'll set the agreement. So this capitalism will not benefit for the poor people, but it will benefit for the people, those who are stronger, especially the stronger countries. So that's the first point. The second point is imperialism. Second definition or second term is imperialism. And imperialism is an annexation of another country. Annexation of another country over a poorer country. Especially Germany annexing another country like Serbia, like that. So these called as imperialism. And the motive of the imperialism is the stronger country expands their territory. That is the main important thing, and they will make use of all the resources of the poorer countries. So using those resources, they will get more profit and they start growing. That is imperialism, a kind of a cruel domination. A kind of cruel domination undertakes here. Imperialism, and the third one is colonialism. So imperialism and colonialism is not much different, but still here a small changes. Here they will have colonies, and this is not meant for expanding their territories, but for the purpose of having markets to sell their products, to get the raw materials from the poorer countries, to get or exploit all the resources from the poorer countries, and they will produce surplus amount of production, and that production will be sold in these markets. So colonialism is a kind of a market and for the exploitation. They will exploit them economically. This is what happens in these three terms. Unless and until you know these three terms clearly, you cannot understand the reasons for the World War and the causes for the World War. Thank you. Now back to the lesson. In this lesson, we are going to go through all these circumstances, all the various kinds of rulers and the dominators who are going to come through this lesson. Let's see what are they. The first thing is they are going to search, they are trying to scramble for colonies. They are trying to exploit other countries. They are trying to annex other territories also. Here, the first thing is we are going to see is dealt with the topic scramble for colonies. Here we are going to see capitalist countries race for market. Every countries, first itself I said capitalist countries, they will use that agreement for the exploiting the poorer countries. Like that, here also various kinds of revolution, various kinds of political issues and social issues were taking place here. Now here, revolution in the means of communication and transportation in the latter half of the 19th century facilitated the process of European expansion in Africa and other places. Africa was not dominated much, but Africa is a country with full of resources. So these capitalist countries, they made use of Africa and exploited their resources for their capitalism. Through capitalism, they created huge contracts, and that contracts, for every process, there will be two sides, two phases. Either it be a bad or a good phase. In the same way, capitalism also have a same kind of a nature here. It is very extreme good also happening there, extreme disadvantages also happening. Extreme advantage and disadvantages are taking place here. For example, they have given here extreme poverty. If some countries will be benefited extremely and those countries will be extremely wealthy, but on the other hand, the other country will be extremely in poverty. So the other way, slums will be created, and the other hand, skyscrapers will be created. So this is the effects of capitalism. The effect of the capitalism lead to imperialism, and that imperialism also led to colonialism. So skyscraper, empire state and dependent. For example, in here we can see England is a very good empire state. England had many colonies in every country. For example, even India is also a colony, was a colony of England country. So that is said in the capitalism. Rise of monopoly capitalism. After 1870, you can see that industry and finance seeking profits, market, goods and capitals, everything was in hike. And certain countries were really exploited, and which was an essential characteristic of imperialism. That shows the main important characteristic of the imperialism. The old ideas of free trade collapse. Before the capitalism entered into the world history, there was a free trade. Everyone can trade with any country without any limitations, with a good purpose. But after capitalism, it was a kind of a selfish motive that made one part of the agreement, that is one part of the richer part will be benefited a lot. So free trade collapsed. For their purpose, they completely collapsed free trade, and they were trust in the USA. USA continued with trust, and Germany continued with cartels. So what is trust is given in the definition. You can see it's a kind of an organization which engaged in the production and the distribution of any commodity. Any commodity means any products. From the production to distribution. This trust will decide how much should be produced, what is the cost, who should buy, on what basis, everything. This trust will be deciding it, and that was taken by USA. That method was handled by USA. So the trust would possess adequate control over the supply and the price of commodity on its own advantage. Even if it's a loss, even if it's a profit, there is no need for them to give an account to anyone. In that way, this trust will handle everything under their control, and government will not be taking part of it. Then cartels in Germany. And you all know, in World War, Germany was also a leading country, was also a major country, and Germany was having a cartel Cartel refers to an agreement. Here is also is an agreement based upon a contractual agreement between people of the same field. So here also monopoly was exercised. Monopoly means the person, those who are taking this agreement, or those who are in the control, or those who are taking part in the capitalism, they will decide what they have to do, and no other people can be indulging in their matters. That is the thing in the cartels. So these powerful countries joined together and they themselves dominated the governments. Now let's go through the imperialism and its essential characteristics. Already I said imperialism. Imperialism is also a kind of annexation of territories, but still they are with the motive of extending their borders and using the resources of the poorer countries. Now here, capitalism inevitably led to imperialism. So basic thing is, again the basic thing is capitalism. Capitalism brought out the imperialism. And the next thing is, when they produce something, they will go through which is the better, that is which benefits a lot. Which kind of production benefits a lot, and they will give more importance to that. Such kind of productions are rubber, oil, nitrates, sugar, cotton, every sort of things, because there was high demand for these products in that country, in that time period. So they were using all these raw materials, and these raw materials were taken to the market and supplied and distributed according to their agreement, based on their agreement only. So the need to control the sources of raw materials inevitably led to imperialism. So this only automatically, when they go to another country, slowly, directly or indirectly, they get into the control of the political system, and finally they will capture the whole country. So they will attain the imperialism through the trade. So trade starts the thing, and finally they will they'll annex the territory. Annex means getting under the control, taking control of another country. So that is the annexation of territories. Then imperialism was not just about colonies. Here mostly colonies will not be there, but they will even take part of the militaries also. Military strength, military energy, and all other political system they will take under control. So this automatically led to the war. The next topic is rivalry of great powers. You all know there are many great powerful countries are there, like England, then USA, Germany, and Japan was also a powerful country in that World War period. And here Europe, in Europe, Russia was a greater powerful country. So Europe was a greater thing. Clashes. So that lead to clashes amongst the greatest powers to show who is more powerful in that, who is more dominative, who has more ability to control other countries, to show that clashes amongst the great powers. Then Asia, in Asia, Japan was the powerful, and that was a great surprise to the whole nation, whole world. Then strong arm diplomacy of Japan, colonialization and its fallout. So these are the things we are going to deal with the next topic. The first thing is Europe. In Asia, only Africa was left without colonized or without being dominated. So because Africa is a country well known for its resources, but the occupation, division and the colonization of Africa took place after 1880s, that is 1881 to 1914. So this was one thing, and this was colonized by Europe. So the industrial achievements of Germany gave her a dominating position in Europe. In Europe, Germany was becoming a dominating country, and Germany's rulers were they were not giving up their ideals for the other powerful countries. So they want to bring out their country as a powerful, because they show their love for the country. That led Germany into a dominating position. So every other countries were really afraid at times towards Germany to attack her. Then as there was nowhere else to expand, the imperialist powers tried to grab others' position. They will search out which other countries are not yet being colonized or not being imperialized. So they will go for that countries and they will start annexing that countries. So under such situation, Europe was doing a great job in that annexation. So Germany was completely with the motive of imperializing many countries. And next thing is England, France, Belgium, Italy and Germany all joined in the way of scrambling other countries. Scrambling means annexing other countries for colonies as colonialism. So both imperialism and colonialism started in the period of 1880s, that is 1881, around 1880s. That time they started imperialism and colonialism. The next thing is clashes amongst great powers. England was in competition, already I said England was in competition with Germany and the United States, which were producing cheaper manufactured goods. So here what they are doing is, in Europe, Germany was against England. England was is a nation of colonialism, and this nation was completely with a clash under Germany. Germany is not going to give up in any way, it's going to be dominating, and England is also another dominating country. So they started clashing between Germany, United States, and they started creating cheaper manufactured goods and they started to sell in the markets of England. So that made a greater clash created more tension between England and the other powerful countries. So that's another thing. The national rivalry led to frequent clashes between these great powers. So Asia and Africa all were poorer and very good countries. So these people were really under national rivalry because of these people, because of these dominating countries. So the next thing is, this we can see in the words of Cecil Rhodes. Okay, he is a great historian and he was an imperialist prime minister of South Africa, and he was saying, in this world is nearly all parceled out and what there is left of it is being divided. That is, he would have conquered and colonized even if there is a chance. He is saying imperialism and the colonialism is showing that there is a chance of colonizing, even if they get a chance to colonize a planet, a new planet, even the skies or stars, whatever it is, even though only thing is they are far away, only thing is they are above our heads. That's what is said in these words. So Cecil Rhodes said imperialism was such a crazy thing, a mad driving thing that makes us to colonize anything, makes us to annex anything, makes us to conquer everything, whatever it's possible for them to conquer. That's what he is saying in these words. You can go through that words once. The world is nearly all parceled out and what there is left of it is being divided up, conquered and colonized. To think of these stars that you see overhead at night, these vast worlds which we can never reach, I would annex the planets if I could. I often think of that. It makes me sad to see them so clear and yet so far. The only thing is they are far distance away from the earth. So I am not able to conquer. Next thing is Asia. Now here comes the Japan. Japan is started to rise up. So already there are dominating countries like England, Germany, Russia, everyone are dominating and started clashing between them. So they don't know anything about Japan, but suddenly Japan is rising up here, and this give up a notion that it is also a dominating country. So in Asia, Japan was also started imitating Western nations, their machinery, their education, all these systems, and started to become an equal in all aspects. So though the outlook of the rulers still remained feudal, Japan took to Western education. You can see here Western education and machinery. So they started creating modern navy, army, modern navy and army. So what is the main backbone of Japan is modern navy and army. And Japan had emerged as an advanced, industrialized. They started to create a better and a well-advanced industrialized industry. So that give an industrialized power, because that's an important thing in the capitalism. When you have a very good, strong industry in your country, you will be a very good capitalist country. So that's what made the other countries to become dominating, and that made Japan to copy or imitate, and they have started to become an industrialist power following Europe. in imperialistic aggression. Aggression is not a positive term. It's not a positive term that shows completely you are very aggressive. You want to attain, you want to achieve something that you want to have it. So when you want to have something, you will be very aggressive unless and until you get it, you will not be under calm condition. You will not be at peace. You will not be sitting quietly. When you attain it, you will be pacified. That's what shows the word aggression. So Japan may be a small country, maybe a lesser population, but still Japan shows that it's very aggressive to become a dominating country and a capitalist country with all the equal aspects for the other dominating countries. So then Japan forced a war on, later Japan is waging a war on China, and there Japan defeats China. That gave an additional advantage to the Japan in the view of other countries. That is, the war name is Sino-Japanese War in 1894 to 95. That really shake the whole world, that small country Japan is being a greater dominating country. Then despite the warning of the three great powers, so after when Japan started rising up, the other countries, that Russia, Germany, and France is also coming there. France also annexed the Liaotong Peninsula with Port Arthur. They were started to warn Japan to go away from annexing the Port Arthur. Okay, so they don't want Japan to annex Port Arthur. So they were started warning Japan, but Japan is not at all giving or pay attention to their warnings, and what he is doing is Russo-Japanese War. So against Russia. Against Russia means Russia will be allied or will be supported by other countries, other European countries also. Already Russia is a very big country when compared to Japan. So but still Japan is not seeing its size or its thing, but it's believing in its ability and the power. So that's make Russo-Japanese War, where Japan defeated Russia. So, and it got back the Port Arthur. So after this war, Japan entered the title called Charmed Circle of the Great Powers. So that's a great thing about the Japan, and that teaches us a great lesson also. So nothing about the size or nothing about your appearance. It is about your ability and the capacity that shows the rise of Japan in the World War. The next thing is strong arm diplomacy of Japan. Now see, the assassination of a prominent Japanese diplomat provided the excuse in Japan's annexation of Korea. Now Japan's next target is Korea. So he started want to annex Korea then. The confusion in China following, that is, in China there was a political issue going on. There was a fall of Manchu dynasty. That is, in Manchurian there was a dynasty called Manchu dynasty, and this dynasty was under fall. So what is happening is that made China a little bit weaker. So this time was a very good plus point for Japan, and Japan started to create further expansion also. That is the annexation of Korea. So he is going for the next thing. Japan now demanded not only for the transfer of German rights in Shantung to Japan and the recognition of Japanese hold to Manchuria, but the appointment of Japanese advisors to the Chinese government. He is not only doing that, he is not only doing holding of that Japan and the German rights, but he is even concentrating in the areas of the Chinese government also, because China was in great confusion with the fall of Manchu dynasty. So he is taking that as an advantage, and he is keeping his hands in the Chinese government to take control of the power of the China. This strong armed diplomacy aroused the hostility of both China and the European powers. So what is happening now? China have to be submissive to Japan. So Japan and China is getting together, and that made a clash between China and the European powers. So this automatically turns China to become a negative person for the European powers. Okay, next thing is colonization and its fallout. In 1876, 10% of Africa was under European rule. So not complete. You know, Africa is a separate continent, but that full continent is not the control of Europe. but 10% was taken by, and the whole of Africa was colonized. So automatically what will happen, every imperialistic people just get into the country just for trade or just for a small basis only, but later what they will do is they will completely take control of the whole nation or the continent. That's what happening here. In 1876 only 10% was there, they were getting into for the trade by the European rule, but after in 1900 what is happening is full Africa became submissive to the powers of the European powers. So Britain, France, Germany also came under the title called spheres of influence, and they also started creating their agreement, and they have started their influence in Japan. So Japan, what is doing is, Japan having the China, but side by side what he is doing is Korea and Taiwan also he is annexing. So France conquered Indochina, but France completely took control of the China later, because Japan's attention completely was in Korea and Taiwan. So what he is doing is, France took Indochina, and this US took Philippines. So next next country is US. That is the next dominating country. So US took Philippines from Spain, and Britain and Russia took the partition of Iran. Iran was divided into two. So Britain took one part and Russia took the another part. Then the French was fighting along and bitter war to conquer Algeria and Senegal. So French was fighting, that's France was fighting for Algeria and Senegal, and the British lost to the Zulus. British, that is England, lost to the Zulus and the Sudanese army, that is Sudan. Okay, then the Italian army suffered a devastating defeat at the hands of Ethiopian army at Adowa. These are the few countries which were dominated and which were followed from other hand into the dominating countries. That's what is said here in the colonization and its fallout. The next thing is we'll go through the world map. World map, which are the countries, main countries, and you can see all the empires, triple entity, that is three major dominating countries, British, French, Russian, and that empire you can see all through the world map. I want this world map to be practiced by you as much as possible, because world map work is a very important thing. That is an important question for the map work in the history examination. So you can see all the color difference and you can learn it from the map. This is the Canada, and this is here. You can see all the small countries like Great Britain. Britain is here, is an island, and this is part of Europe. So in Europe, and this is Asia, Europe and Asia, and this is the whole big thing is Russia. So you can see all the small countries here, Germany, France, Italy and Morocco, Greece. Try to locate and learn which are the countries and learn how to locate them. So India and Australia, everything is given here and their difference. Then triple alliance, German, Italian, Austro-Hungarian, and the other annexed areas are given here. So these are the things which are the countries taking part in the World War I. The next one.